Welcome to Unselfishly Me, a podcast all about self-love, self-care, and everything in between. I'm Jane, a personal trainer with a focus on self-love. Each week, we'll be chatting to someone about their self-love journey, how long it took, and what it took to get there. Today, I'm talking to Derryn Schmidt from Derryn Schmidt Photography. She's a Durban wedding photographer, and she also has another business called Let's Talk Workshops, where she does all different workshops. She could be doing Enneagram this week and tax next week, and it's just really incredible what she's launched from her photography business. So we are talking about all things self-love, self-care, and also about photography and social media and how that affects people's self-esteem and self-worth. And I think you'll really enjoy this talk today. So welcome, Derryn. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Derryn. Jane, I'm a wedding and portrait photographer in Durban. I live up the north coast in Ballito, and I, as you know, have a Boston Terrier just like you.
Well, actually, they're sisters.
They are.
It's actually Harley's sister.
Sisters, yeah. And we've recently just got a little Jack Russell puppy, so the house is incredibly busy.
Because you have a baby as well, or a child.
Well, I have a child. Ellie is 2.5. But things are quietening down now. She's not as hectic as she was when she was a small baby, so life is good at home.
Yay. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, question number 1. What does self-love mean to you?
Jane, I have a bit of a struggle with this, to be perfectly honest. I'm not the best person when it comes to taking care of myself. I'm a typical Ennea 3 in that life is about doing more, being more. And so when I step back and do nothing, which is what I should be doing to take care of myself, I feel like I'm not accomplishing anything. I'm being lazy. So it feels like a waste of time. So to be honest, there is no self-care routine, but I am getting quite good now about managing my time and who I allow into my space. And I think that that's how I'm taking care of myself, is just being careful about what I say yes to, what I take on, who I share my time with. I used to feel quite guilty if someone needed something from me, or a friend wanted to see me and I didn't have the time for it. It would make me feel really guilty, just like I wasn't a good friend or I wasn't available for other people. But I've had to come to terms with this and learn to put myself first, and I suppose that is how.
Yeah, it's your emotion, because you're looking after your emotional wellness.
Yeah, because you really can't do everything. And as you know, when you have a family and you have your own business, you just can't give everything 100%. And that first year of having a baby was like, I had complete burnout. You just can't give 100% to everyone and everything. And obviously the first person to go down is you. As the mother and the business owner. So now, since then, I'm just way more careful about what I take on. I know my limit with work. I know how many weddings I can shoot a month. And although I would like to take a booking every weekend, I know it's just not possible for the workload. And less so now that I have a child. And that was hard to admit, to be like, okay, I have a child now. I've got to take on less work. It was hard to admit that to myself, that I wasn't going to be able to work at the same
pace.
Yeah, at the same pace, and I didn't have the same capacity anymore that I used to have. So no baths, no bath bombs, no going to the gym, all the things that I know I should be doing, but I will slowly get there as I listen to more of your podcast episodes.
Yes. You learn from your sister with her bath every night.
Yeah, I know. But unlike her, when I get into a bath, I just start to go over everything that I need to do. And then I spend more time feeling stressed out, and I build up like this level of anxiety sitting in the bath doing nothing, because I'm starting to create a to-do list in my mind. And I start preparing, okay, what am I going to do first? What am I going to leave for tomorrow? And I may as well get out the bath and just go do the damn thing.
Go have a shower, rather.
Yes, that's exactly what I do. I go and have a shower, and then I get to my desk and I get things done.
Exactly.
Like a typical Enneagram 3.
And then you feel better.
And then I feel better.
Yeah. So what has changed for you since becoming a mother?
Jane, I think it's much like what I was saying earlier, is that I just don't have the same capacity for everything and everyone. And I've had to learn to be okay with that and to be forgiving of myself when I'm not able to do everything at 100%. And even, now I'm in the middle of creating a photography course, and my friend who's been helping me, because in the middle of the night one day I sent her a frantic message and she was like, okay, I'm coming. And she literally came in the middle of the night to help me. I know, she's an amazing friend. And she was like, Derryn, just ship it. Ship it. It's a Seth Godin expression. Okay. I think it's Seth Godin says it. Like, it's never going to be perfect. It is never going to be perfect. It's in your character to want things to be perfect. It's also in your character to never be satisfied with the way things are. So you have to reach a point where it's good enough and just say, okay, it's done. Ship it. Move it on. And when he talks, I think it's Seth Godin who does it. I'll have to look it up. But he's talking about writers, authors, and saying that no book is ever complete. No author ever feels like their book is perfect, but you reach a point where it's done, you send it to the publishers. And I've had to learn to do that with my work, to be okay to go, all right, this is good enough. It might not be perfect. It might not be quite where I want it to be, but it's good enough. Move along, because otherwise I just will not sleep. I'll stay up every night making things better and better and better and better. So I've had to learn how to do that and be forgiving of myself, be kind to myself, and allow myself to work more in the flow of where my body and my mind are at. When I need a break, try to take a break. When I feel like I'm coming down with a cold, try to take it easy. If I'm struggling with period pains, lie on my back on the bed for an hour or two and not feel this need to just push through, which is something I probably could have done and would have done before becoming a mother. But now that I'm a mom, there's so much on top of you that if you aren't able to step back and take a little bit of a break, you will break. So you've got to be able to say, okay, I'm stepping back now. I'm going to give myself some time.
Yeah. And then also because you need to be the best for her. So if you don't take the breaks and then you do, like you say, a break, then that she's going to be part of the break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this, what you're saying now just reminds me of a big change I've made recently. I was working at home because, I don't know, you probably had the same sort of thing. I want to be at home with my kids.
Yes.
I want to run my own business so that I could be at home with my children. I don't want to go to work and leave somebody else to raise her. I want to be the one to raise her. I want to be at home. But I found that what I was doing was more bringing my child into my workspace than bringing a workspace into my family, if that makes sense. So I was expecting her to be quiet at certain times of the day when I was on the call. I was expecting her to know not to touch my computer when it was on the table. I was getting cross with her for writing in my notebook. And I was expecting a 2-year-old to behave as though she was in my office rather than
you were in her home.
I was in her home, and it was making me frustrated and was making me stressed out, and I couldn't get a solid task done without having one hand over here and one hand over there and grabbing a water and blowing a nose. And so recently I've started trying to work away from home and setting proper hours and setting tasks and going, okay, I'm going out from 8 till 12. And then when I come back, I've got so much more to give her, and she's happy to see me and I'm happy to see her, and I feel like I've achieved something that day. So I'm not so stressed.
And it's like guilt-free time that you're spending
absolute guilt-free time. So I've had to have a bit of a mind shift around that, because it goes against everything that I'd always thought that I'd wanted.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how we got onto this topic.
I love it. Well, it has changed since becoming a mother, so it is still part of the question. You see? It was a good question. So what do you love about being a photographer?
I think that, unlike a lot of photographers who sort of got their first camera when they were in high school and were that person at parties with a camera hanging around their neck, unlike them, I'm more about the connection between the people. I won't bring my camera with me to a party unless you ask me to. I'm not all about the camera. I'm not all about the photos. I'm about the reason we're taking photos. So I love that I get to photograph weddings. I love that I spend my Saturdays with a group of people who are having their best day of their life. I mean, that's an awesome, I mean, imagine being an undertaker and like your day.
This is the opposite.
Yeah, mine's the opposite of that. I get to be with people on the best day of their life when they are the most in love and the most just spoiled, and they feel loved and they're happy, and I get to be around that energy. And I feel it. I feel it in my body. I feel it when I get home. While I'm editing their photos, I get to see all those happy smiley faces back at me. So I love that about photography. I also love the aspect of creating, being able to look and assess light and see things and create photos that don't necessarily show the way that you saw the scene, but the way that I saw the scene or the way that I understood the light and the composition and the people, and then created a photograph by combining all those things into one vision and taking a photo. Like there's this whole creation process that happens, and it's empowering to be able to create things. It's a good outlet for stress. I don't really read books much, and that's mainly because in the evening when other people would probably sit on their bed and read, I pull out my laptop and start editing, and that part doesn't feel like work. Okay. That feels like you might draw or color in, and I'm editing. I'm doing the same thing. I just get paid for it, which is awesome. But yeah, those are the things I love about photography.
So you photograph a lot of women. What have you noticed about women's insecurities when being in front of the camera?
Some people are definitely better than others in front of the camera. And those women are easy to photograph because you can see that they feel very comfortable with themselves and they're just happy to be who they are. But yes, there definitely are other women who you can see their mind is 50% on what you're saying to them and what the mood you're trying to create, but 50% on how they should be holding their body and what should they be doing with their hands. And it's sad to see because I feel like I want to say, especially on a wedding day, if it was an actual shoot, that's different because you should be thinking about all these other things. But on a wedding day, I want to say to them, like, there's only so much your brain can hold today. There's only so much there are only so many thoughts you can think. Let's choose to think about the person standing opposite you rather than the size of your nose.
Yeah.
Like, let's rather focus and remember how you were feeling about the people and the big vows you were just about to take, and rather than thinking about whether you could see your love handles through your wedding dress. So it's always sad when that happens, but if I do see it happening, I just do my best to distract them away from thinking about their body or their looks or their posture, and then subtly find ways of encouraging them to stand straight or to move their body in a certain way without them realizing what I'm doing.
Oh, clever. Yeah, so they're not as, so it doesn't make them so self-conscious.
Yeah, exactly, because that's not their job. That's my job. It's my job to make them look beautiful in the photos. It's their job to just be them and to get married. That's what their job is for the day, not to be worried about their nose and their chin and their hair and their lips.
But I also think it's nice. You're obviously such a good photographer in that some photographers aren't good at cueing.
Yeah.
So I think it's also being able to see the big picture and the actual picture and already seeing that she should be putting her shoulder slightly back. So you could see, which a lot of people don't actually.
Yeah. I mean, my advice to people who are choosing a photographer is to choose a photographer who is going to give you what you need. And there's some photographers who are very much into the beauty aspect of photographing. They take a lot of really beautiful close-up photos. The brides, no matter their size, shape, age, they look like they Vogue models, because the photographer, that's what their speciality is, getting you to stand in a certain way, airbrushing your face in post-production, saying the things, doing the things. And then the other photographers who don't buy into that at all and go as far as to not give any kind of direction or posing whatsoever. They literally just stand there on the wedding day and click. Like, they will not tell you what to do. And some people like that. Yeah. But you've got to find an approach that suits you. So I tend to attract a lot of clients who are not so into themselves. I don't know how else to say it, but I take a lot of wide shots. Like, I'm a big picture thinker, and when I see something, I see the big version of it. So a lot of my photos are sort of either full length from far away, or they cropped at the waist. Very seldom am I getting right up in your face. So if you look at my portfolio and you're a little bit self-conscious, or you're not really that into your makeup and your hair and your face, you're into the bigger picture, you're going to be attracted to my work. And there's going to be some, even if you can't identify what it is, you're going to see it and go, okay, we like this photographer, and that'll be the reason why. So I don't tend to attract a lot of clients who are looking for that beauty style of photography. But my advice to people who are in the market for a photographer is to hire a photographer whose approach suits your personality and what you're looking for out of a photographer.
Yeah, no, that's perfect advice. So do you think that it's gotten worse since the rise of social media?
It's hard for me to have a solid opinion on that because when I started wedding photography, Facebook and Instagram were already around. So I don't know what things were like before social media. But yes, I do get requests from people to, oh, please Photoshop this. Oh, please, could you remove this and remove that? And I think I just make it quite clear from the get-go that that's just not my style. So hopefully when you inquire with me and read through the information, you'll know off the bat that that's just not the way that I work. And there'll be other photographers who are better suited to you. But yes, I think that the average person who knows nothing about photography or photo editing might assume that that's something that everyone does and that's easy to do. And, oh, won't you please just make my eyes bigger? Oh, won't you just, could you please shrink my double chin? I hate my double chin. Please remove my double chin in pictures. And I think that social media has given this impression that that's something that is acceptable and easy to do.
Yeah. Meantime.
Not really, no, it's a couple of hours of work.
So does the over editing and face tuning of people's pictures on social media in general, not just wedding photography, annoy photographers like yourself when they can see that people have natural beauty and don't need to fake it so much?
It might annoy some photographers, but me personally, I think that it makes me sad more than anything else. The fact that you're not comfortable with how you look, that you want to, I mean, Jane, your face is your face. Yeah. It's not going anywhere. It's been on your body for however many years you are old, and it's going to stay there till you're done with life. Yeah. So I wish people would, I wish they would spend more time looking at themselves in the mirror, because I think also part of the problem is that we are looking out of our eyes, at the rest of the world. We're not standing in the mirror staring at ourselves. So it's hard to accept the reasons that other people love you. Stare, I mean, I'm looking at you now and I'm seeing all the beautiful things about your face. You're looking at me and you're seeing all the beautiful things about my face. Neither of us are looking at ourselves. Yeah. So you learn to love things about other people. And we need to learn to love things about ourselves as well. We just need to spend time with ourselves. I don't spend time in the mirror. I look at myself in the mirror when I do my makeup, and that takes all of 5 minutes. That is it. 5 minutes a day looking at my face, but hours looking at my child's face, hours looking at my friend's face, hours looking at my husband's face. I love their faces. I love every flaw that they have, but I only spend 5 minutes with myself. That's hard to learn to love your flaws when you only get 5 minutes with your face a day.
It's true. Like, I never thought of it like that, and now I'm like, you should look in the mirror more. And also, I think, see the flaws and then accept them. The more you do look in the mirror and actually accept it, and accentuate what you can. So be the best version of yourself, not face tune yourself to look like Kim Kardashian.
Yeah. And I'm not dissing people who change parts of their body. I had my ears pinned back when I was a child because I had such a huge complex about it. I was little and I was getting bullied, and they were really bad. So we got them pinned back. I'm not against that at all. If you really have an issue with your body and it's affecting your happiness, then by all means do it. But if that's not an option, or if that's not the route you're going to go, then do the next best thing, which is to accept it and learn to love it. Yeah. And like you say, learn to accentuate those parts. So I'm very aware as a photographer when I see someone who has a double chin. I know chances are they don't love that they have a double chin. If they could choose, they probably would choose not to have one. So I'll do everything I can to choose the right angles or to prompt them to turn their chin in a certain direction. But it can't be the focus of the shoot, because you'll miss everything else that's important. You'll miss the actual connection between the person that they are with. You'll miss the love that shows on their expression if you're spending your time focusing on that double chin.
Yeah, it's so true. So true. And it's nice that you as a photographer can see that, because some people don't.
It takes experience, It doesn't happen straight away. It takes hours of photographing and then reviewing your images and then feedback from the clients as well.
And you learn to see it. Yeah. Amazing. So I'm sure you've seen firsthand how women talk negatively about themselves. Have you ever had a bride see her photos after and not seen how beautiful she looked? And does this happen more often than we think?
Yes. I find that if I don't hear back from the couple immediately, if I send them their pictures and I don't hear back, I know that they're taking time to process the pictures.
Okay.
And I just give them some time, and in a couple of days or a couple of weeks, I will always hear back from them further down the line. And in those cases, I know that there's maybe been something they needed time to sit with.
Yeah.
It comes back to what I was saying earlier about us not being used to seeing our own faces. I think it can be startling to receive a gallery of pictures of yourself and you're not used to all those expressions. You're not used to seeing yourself laughing or crying, or who looks in the mirror and laughs? Who looks in the mirror when they cry? And you don't know what you look like when you cry, unless you are standing in the mirror staring at yourself and sobbing your eyes out, in which case I'd really like you to go see a counselor.
Yeah.
So you're not used to seeing, so I think it can give you quite a fright. I mean, I remember when I saw my own wedding photos, the first time you look at them, there's a lot you miss in terms of what was actually captured, because you're like, oh, look at me in that photo. Oh, look at that face. Oh, gosh. Oh, cringy. It takes...
You need to sit with it and actually just give it a day.
Give it a day. There have been times, I did have one bride who was really unhappy with her pictures. And then it came time to create the album, and I asked her to select however many pictures it was for the album. And she replied to say, look, I owe you an apology, because she was quite harsh in her feedback. And she said, I owe you an apology because now that I'm selecting the pictures for my album, I'm realizing how many pictures I actually love. And she was struggling to narrow down her selection. And she admitted that. She said, I think that I just wasn't happy with how I looked in the pictures, and I took it out on you and the way that you shot me. But now that I've had some time to get used to it, I love the pictures. Yeah. So she was brave enough to share that with me. I don't know how many other brides are thinking it, but they just haven't told me.
A lot of people don't like conflict, so probably
a few. And then that's why I said, if they don't respond straight away to say thank you so much, then I know that there's probably something, not all the time, people get busy, or maybe they just don't feel the need to reply, but I know that there's a good chance that they're just still processing their pictures.
Yeah, that's true. I've had photos of myself that I've seen and I'm like, and then a day or two later, I look at them again and I'm like, oh, actually, I like that. So I think it does take your brain a little bit of time to process it. So what tips would you give the ladies out there with regards to taking pictures of themselves?
Okay, so as I said earlier, I don't want you to spend the whole photo shoot thinking about yourself and your body and your face, because there's only so much your brain can hold, especially if you're a parent, because you're also thinking about dinner that night and your baby's nappy count. Yeah. But if you are able to take some time to practice in the mirror, these are my tips. The first thing would be to imagine that you've got a string tied to the crown of your head and someone's pulling you up from your crown. So you're not going to lift your chin when you try to stand straight. You're going to pull up from like a high top bun, or from the crown of your head. This will make everything elongate. You naturally stretch your neck. You naturally pull your shoulders back. This will help with a lot of those posture issues. This will help with double chins. The minute you pull up from your crown, you look longer and more elegant. The second thing is to try imagine you've got a bit of an S in your body. So you're pushing your bust out and you're pushing your bum out. This also helps with posture, but it hurts.
I'm doing it right now. That's why I'm having a little chuckle.
It hurts your back. It should hurt, you should feel actually quite sore. And if you did it for a whole hour, it would hurt. But this, again, I wouldn't say if you're doing an engagement shoot where you're running on the beach with your fiance, this is what you should be thinking of. But if you're having a photo shoot done for, let's say you're getting brand photos done for your website, and it's sitting on a chair and you're just sort of looking at the camera, this is stuff you can think about. There's no moment or connection happening there. It's just you having your photos taken. So we're pulling up from our crown. We're making an S with our body. And then with your chin, if you are conscious about a double chin or a granny neck or your face shape or size, is feel as though you're pushing your chin out slightly and down a little bit. Yes.
I do it in the accent.
Okay, so the lady who I learned this from is called Sue Bryce, and she's Australian. And the lesson that she was giving, she just said it to the person who was modeling for the entire shoot. Chin forward and down, chin forward and down. That's it. Just turn to the light and go chin forward and down, chin forward and down. That's it. So now it's all I can think of in my head when I'm telling people chin forward and down. It feels ridiculous, so do it in front of the mirror.
Yes.
But if you can go chin forward and down, it'll really help with your jawline. So all that contouring you've been doing will actually help now because you're putting your jaw in the right place. And then if you can just turn your body slightly sideways to the camera. So instead of being straight on, which is a very masculine pose and makes your shoulders look quite broad, just turn ever so slightly and feel like you're connecting your chin with your shoulder. So you're bringing your, not like, let's not go obvious. We're not going to put our hand on our hip now as well. Yeah. Just turn your shoulder ever so slightly. Feel like there's a connection between your shoulder and your chin. Keep your chin forward and down and then pull up with your crown.
Love it. Such great advice. And where can everyone find you on social media?
My name is Derryn Schmidt, so all my handles are the same. My website's www.derrynschmidt.com, and then my Instagram handles are @DerrynSchmidt.
And it's
SCHMIDT.
I will link it in the show notes.
Thank you.
But thank you so much for coming today, and I'm sure everyone's learned a lot, especially the forward and down, forward and down. I knew that I was going to make you do that because it's like all I can think of.
Well, every time you think of it, think of me.
I do already. Thanks, and I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening to Unselfishly Me. Follow us on Instagram @unselfishlyme and check out our website www.unselfishlyme.com.